All right. Hey, I think we're live. Let me check my signal here and making sure that we are. I've got some quick social media postings to do, and then we'll get to work. We're working on Theros Piety today using the color mana system. Theros Piety today
check
using
here.
the color mana system. Yeah, okay. It sounds like I'm coming through. I'll drop that volume down there, get it out of the way. Cool. I'm going to grab the link here. We're going to do some social media posts here real fast. It'll take less than a minute. So if you're catching us in the future, be welcome to skip ahead after the bump, and we'll be getting to work. But for those of you that are trapped here in space-time with me here and now, my name is Phil Kearney. What's up? I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and we're building stuff for Dungeons and Dragons using the 5e24 rules and the color magic paradigm from Magic the Gathering, which is relevant to the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, Strixhaven, Curriculum in Chaos, and the Mythic Odysseys of Theros. And all three of those are Magic the Gathering settings. And while Wizards of the Coast owns both MTG and D&D, they haven't really dived into the idea of color as a mechanic inside of the game. And so when we're imagining characters in the Magic the Gathering multiverse of wielding magic and casting spells and stuff, it would be under the guise of color magic of white, blue, black, red, and green, depending on what kind of a character you are, would determine what types of colored magic you would be wielding. And there's no mechanical impact of that inside the 5e game. So we developed rules to replace the Vancian spell magic system of D&D, the spell slots and the 8 schools of magic, and instead replace it with the 5 colors and the color mana system that people that know Magic the Gathering as a card game will be familiar with in the 5e24 format. It's a spell point system different from what was in the DMG in 2024, in the 2014 DMG. Using the color system, all spells, instead of being devoted to a school of magic, are devoted to one or more colors of magic. And when you have a mana pool, you spend points to cast the spell. A 3rd level spell costs 3 points of mana to cast. And if you're just using a narrative system, then if you're using red magic to cast that spell, then you'll have your own red color, visual effects that you describe as a character for yourself to express your character. But if you're using a strict mana system, then the spell points in your mana pool can be devoted to a color. So you could have, say, 15 points in your mana pool, and you have 5 points of red and 1 point of black, and you're casting a 3rd level black spell, then you would need 3 points of mana. 1 point needs to be black, and the other 2 can be any color that you want. So with 6 points in your pool, 5 red, 1 black, you could cast that 3rd level spell using 1 point of black, and in this case 2 points of red, and you'll still have 3 points of mana left, but now they're all red. So if you wanted to cast a black or white or blue or green spell, you wouldn't be able to because you only have red mana left. So that is a strict mana system that is very akin to First Edition and Beckme, where you had so many spells that you could prepare, and you had to choose what those spells would be. 5e is far more liberal in that you have a list of spells that you know, and then a stack of spell slots or mana that you can just cast any spell that you want from the list that you have prepared. By layering in this color mana system, you're looking at what color spells do I have and what color in my mana pool do I have. The spells, if you're, hold on, I'll go ahead and clean up the rest of my intro here and just say, if you think this stuff is cool, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notification of when we're live in the future. Here's a bunch of books I've already created on the DMsGuild, and mainly this link right here will take you to the color mana bundle that we've produced, where all these books are. And probably the first thing for you to look at is the revised color magic system. It's pay what you want, so you can pick it up for free, but God bless you if you want to buy it to support these efforts. This basically describes what the colors are and how they work. You've got 5 colors: white, blue, black, red, green. The 5 aspects of color magic. Well, the aspects of the 5 colors, like white is related typically to things like divinity, healing, light, protection, restraint, while green is like animals, healing, plant, nature. See how healing is both white and green? And then you have things like divinity in white, spirits in green, and you have like soul magic, entropy, fear, darkness in black. So like when you're looking at like undead comes from black, while like reincarnation is green based, and like resurrection, raise the dead is like white and black, but it could also be green. So there's a lot of ways you can play with it. We'll look at that, and then we have the damage types in D&D, the quote-unquote magical damage types, and again the mana colors of white, blue, black, red, green. Like if you look at cards from Magic the Gathering, creatures that are like acid damage and acid type spells tend to be black and green. Fire spells are almost always red. Lightning is almost always red. Necrotic stuff is always black. Radiant stuff is always white. So these colors and damage types align really well. So if you take the color, like the type of damage the spell does, and the aspects that each color represents inside the game, you'll come up with the color magic spell list, which you'll see that a spell will be one or more colors. Like produce flame, even though it's a cantrip, it's still devoted to red because you're producing flame. Fire is red. Makes sense? So if we were to then say scroll down to Fireball, Fireball is a 3rd level spell, it's red. So like we were talking, 3 mana, and if you're just using just descriptive magic, then you've got 3 mana, go ahead and cast the spell, just describe it as being cast as red. But if it's if you are using color mana, then you'll have to have at least 1 point devoted to red, and the other 2 can be whatever you want. So like if you're choosing, like say, in the case of Theros, if you're devoting yourself to, say, Heliod, which is a god that is devoted to white mana, then when you're doing things in the name of Heliod, you wouldn't want to be using an enemy color like black or red. You'd want to be doing things using white spells, white magic, and Heliod as a god grants spells and magic, and they are attuned to white. So from your spell list as a cleric, you'll have a bunch of spells that are white, blue, black, red, or green. And you can, obviously, if you're only using white mana, then you would have to be picking spells that are white. But if you want a spell that isn't white, say if you had access to Fireball and you only wanted to use white mana, Fireball's a red spell. So you would either prepare it as a red spell and then prepare it again as a white spell, or you'd spend downtime to research it so that when you prepare it, it's always white. So you have that flexibility of being able to sculpt what your spells in your what spells you have prepared to align with the mana that you have in your mana pool. So it's a deeper level of complexity for people that feel like there should be more complexity in spellcasting. But again, if you just want to cast any spell that you want with any point of mana that you want, then you're just going to describe whatever that spell that you're casting, whether it's a red, blue, or whatever spell, you don't care. You're just going to cast the spell, you have your mana, and then you're going to cast the spell with your mana, and you're going to describe it as a white spell, and you'll cast it. If you want to restrict your flexibility, then you're going to have to prepare spells that are white, or make spells that aren't white, make them white when you prepare them. And if you want to have a 3rd degree of restriction, not only do you have to prepare the spells to be the color that you want, you actually have to have that color in your mana pool as well. So you have these 3 degrees of severity of super easy, descriptive only with descriptive only, and the mana is anything. And then you have restricted magic, where the magic has to be colors that you want to use. And then we have color mana, which is the most restrictive. Not only do the spells need to be the color that you want, but you also have to have that color mana in your pool. And whenever you take a short rest or a long rest, whether you gain mana back or not, whenever you take a rest, you can change the color of all the mana in your pool. It's like if you're a red-black sort of person, and you ran out of black mana, you still have 3 points of red left, you take a short rest, maybe you don't get any mana back, but you could decide, well, I'm going to switch 2 of those points from red to black. Or maybe you're Mardu, white, black, and green. So I've got 3 points left. Let's put 1 in red, 1 in black, 1 in white, 1 in red, 1 in white, 1 in black, 1 in green, for instance. So those are ideas that you play with, and that's what all this system is based around. So having said all that, we are working on Theros Piety. And we have a playtest document. It's called the 5-color mana playtest document. You can click that. It's only going to be a read-only document for you guys because I can't just give you content that we're working on. It's an agreement with the DMsGuild that I only give. You only get final product stuff through the DMsGuild. But this is all test. This is all playtest material and my design space. It's not the final text. It's not the final ideas. It's not the final format. It doesn't have any artwork, and it's not even a PDF. It's a read-only document that you can't even cut and paste. But you can at least see what we're doing for right now, in case you're interested in this kind of stuff. And if you are, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because I do this stuff on Mondays and Thursday nights, as well as Tuesday and Friday lunches, like right now. And let's see. Okay, so this is Strixhaven. We finished the Strixhaven colleges yesterday. And last week we resolved all of the guild, the renown system of guilds for Ravnica. So that's all in place now. And Strixhaven's set up, and now we're looking at Piety for Theros. So Theros, its gods are divided up into colors. There's 15 gods, which is that's a lot of gods. If you're really into Theros, you're really going to get into that. I'm not big into gods, but I love color mana. So with the gods of the Piety system and the gods, I see an opportunity. In the Magic the Gathering card set, Theros is really big on gods and color devotion. So, like for instance, you could place a card on the battlefield that's like a global enchantment, like you can draw an extra card. But if you have, like, say, 7 cards, like if you have 7 mana, blue mana worth of cards on your board, including like island mana cards that provide power, and then like say have like 4 mermaids that are 1 blue mana, that cost 1 blue mana each, that's 4, and then like say you have 5 islands, that's 5. That's a total of 9 blue mana that your devotion to blue is 9. And so you might have like this card is like, this is a global enchantment. While this is in play, you can draw an extra card this turn. But if you have 7 or more devotion to blue, you can convert this enchantment into like Thalia or something like turn it into a creature card as like a god or an avatar card, because your devotion to blue is so strong that you manifest the god that embodies the power of blue mana. And all 15 of the cards are like this. Only the greater gods of Heliod devoted to white, Thassa devoted to blue, black, Erebos is devoted to black, Perforos is devoted to red, and Nelia is devoted to green. And then you have the lesser gods, which are a combination. I believe Athreos is white-blue, Ephara is white-black, Aros is white-red, and Karatetra is white-green. So it's white, blue, black, red, green. So like Ephara here would be, like you can see here, it's white and blue. Let's see what's another one. We had Karatetra. Here we go. Karatetra is green, right? White and green devotion. So Karatetra is both white and green. So, sorry, not Karatetra, Karametra. There you go. Athreos. Oh, no, I have these two flipped. Athreos is black, and Ephara is blue. Let me flip those. So you have these color devotions, right? So Ephara is devoted to both white and blue, while Thassa is only blue and Heliod is only white. The idea here that we're working with, that we're going to be developing probably over the next, today and then Monday. The idea is, as you align your adventures and sacrifices that you make to a specific god, like in this instance, to Heliod, as you perform rites that increase your piety with that god, you become more devoted to the color that Heliod represents, in this case, white. So as you gain piety, The boon that you would get would be to gain a first level spell or power. Spells from spellcasting, powers from the martial power system that we've been developing here on stream. But at 3 piety, which you could have as early as first level, you'd have access to a first level spell or power that could be granted to you as white magic. And every character using the Magic the Gathering system that we've been developing, every character uses uses mana, and a martial or half casting class gains 1 mana per level, and they regain it on a short rest, while full casters gain mana have long rest, but they gain a lot more mana, basically twice the amount of mana. So they'll start with, like, say 2 points of mana at first level, and they'll have some sort of a ritual or ability that would allow them, when they take a short rest, to get 1 point of mana back, say at first level. So they end up having 3 mana over the course of the day if they take a short rest, and a long rest, that's going to be 3 mana that they get. While a short rest user would have 1 mana per level, and if they take 1 short rest, they get that mana back, that's 2 points, and maybe if there's another short rest, they can get a 3rd point, but it's rare that you'd have 2 short rests in the same day. But that's how the system works, so it stays balanced. And as you go up in higher levels, like a 9th level full caster will have like 18 some odd points of mana, probably a little bit more than that actually, but like around 18 points of mana, and can regain 5 of them because they can cast up to 5th level spells on a short rest. So they end up having like 23 points of mana, as opposed to a martial character on short rest would have 9 points of mana that would get back on a short rest. So they'd effectively have anywhere from 18 to 27 mana, depending on whether they get 1 or 2 short rests over the course of the day. So the mana pool is actually fairly equal among both classes, even though they regain it in different ways. And let's see, what's my next thought? So the idea is that every level that you gain, even if you're just a martial character, you're going to have at least X amount of mana available. X equals your level. So with 9 mana, or rather with 9 PD, which you probably end up getting like around with, here, let me go ahead and add this in here, which would be effectively 3rd level, because the way that the game works is that basically every level you're expected through adventuring and stuff like that to gain about 3 piety for Theros, or renown for Ravnica, or credits for Strixhaven. You gain roughly 3 per level. So at 3rd level, you'd have about 9 piety, and it doesn't have to be directly the same, but roughly you'd have 9 piety at 3rd level, which is about when full casters get access to 2nd level spells. So the idea is that if you have 9 piety with Heliod, then you would have gotten a 1st level spell or power and a 2nd level spell or power that is coming, that Heliod provides to you, that is going to be devoted to white magic, even if it normally wouldn't be. And you can cast it with the mana pool that you have. So this is going to allow characters to throw around a ton of magic. So I'm going to, and the idea originally was to give you 1 every level, but it's too much. So I'm going to get rid of that. Because we're brainstorming, we're basically developing on the fly. I have the core ideas of how this works, which I've been explaining to you, and so far those feel pretty good. But the specific bonuses and shit that you get is going to scale over time. So 1st level power spell. This should actually be 1st level power. 2nd level spell. It would be 1st rank power. 2nd level spell. Level spell. Rank power. And then at 5, you would have 2nd rank power, because these come on in half casting, or a 3rd level spell. And again, here it would be 2nd rank power or 4th level spell. At 9th level, you get access to 9th level, we get 3rd rank powers. And 5th level spell. And then again at 11th level, we get again 3rd rank power or 6th level spell. At 13th, we'd get a 4th rank power or 7th level spell. And then at 15th level again, we'd have 4th rank power or an 8th level spell. And then finally at 17th level, powers don't go above 4th rank, so it'd be a 4th rank power or 9th level spell. Okay, so this is coming from the gods. We're going to use our own mana pool, and with the mana system that we have, every character has at least 1 mana per level. So a 17th level fighter is going to have 17 mana that they can regain on a short rest. If you have 51 points worth of devotion to, we're using Heliod in this example, so if you have 51 piety with Heliod, then as the greatest god of white magic, Heliod is granting to you, if you wish, either a 4th rank power that you would then cast, that you would then be able to channel with 4 points of white mana, or a 9th level spell, which you would be able to cast with 9 points of mana. And you could do this even if you are not a spellcaster, and you could channel this power even if you are not a channeler, because these are effectively divine boons, and divine boons break the rules of class features. Even if you wouldn't normally be able to cast a spell, a boon will allow you to cast the spell, and you do not need material components for it unless they're material components that you would have to destroy to be able to cast the spell. So this gives a lot of flexibility, and as your character, so your characters are going to naturally be more powerful. Like every character in Theros that has 51 devotion, regardless of what kind of character they are, would be able to cast a 9th level spell. So even the fighters would. So everyone's going to be throwing around a lot more firepower. They're going to have more spells available to them than normally would, and they can stack it on top of their mana. But that's kind of how Theros is. It's super, more human than human, more mythic than just your normal superhero characters. So that's the core idea, and then beyond that, we have, let's see, this is called bonus powers and spells, and these are divine boons. We gain our first divine boon at 3rd. We get our second divine boon at 15, at 5th. We get our 3rd divine boon at 27 piety at 9th level. Excuse me. We get our 4th at 39 piety, roughly 13th level. And then we get our 5th boon at 51 piety, effectively 17th level. And the Book of Theros has unique boons for every single god. There's 15 gods, so there's a lot of diversity there. What I want to do is a quick dive through the mana selections. So piety benefits. As you perform tasks, let's see. Theros uses the backgrounds as detailed in the player's handbook. In addition, characters can perform tasks and other tributes and offer tributes to the gods to gain piety. Each god is devoted to one or two colors as indicated on the list below. Here's your god, and here's their color devotions. Like that. There you go. As you perform tasks and pay tribute to the different gods, you also gain piety with other gods that share devotion to the same color of magic as indicated in the color devotion list below. So the way that we're reorienting this is, hold on, drop that down here. The way that I want to shift perspective of here is not so much worshiping. I mean, you could obviously pay tribute to a specific god, but the colors form pantheons. So the white pantheon would be led by Heliod, and Aphara, Aetherios, Eros, and Karametra would be the lesser gods that are that serve Heliod. But Aphara would also serve Thassa. So Heliod and Thassa, although they're friendly, they're adjacent colors on the color wheel. So while they're friendly, they don't always align. So Aphara, as a lesser god that's both devoted to white and blue magic, Aphara basically has two masters, both Helia and Thassa. Aetherios has both white and black mana in his identity. So Aetherios will be at odds between Heliod and Erebos orders. So in the politics of the gods, there could be a scenario arises where Heliod and Erebus are at odds with each other, and Aetherios, more than anyone else, is caught in the middle of that conflict, being torn which direction am I supposed to go. And that creates a lot of classic Greek trauma or Greek drama about how the gods conduct themselves in navigating their own divine political situation and using their mortals to guide them. So like in this situation, Aetherios may send out champions and devoted worshippers of Aetherios, some of them to aid Heliod's cause, while also sending others to aid Erebos' cause in whatever this conflict is. And those characters, as they engage, they're devoting their actions to Erebos, to Aetherios, but then they're going to be declaring, am I conducting these tasks to Aetherios as white or as black magic? So that would be when you gain your piety, you would be gaining a point in a color, not to a specific god. That's how we're changing the focus away from giving worship to a specific god. It would be giving worship to a specific color that the gods represent. So if I go to a shrine of Aetherios, I could be making a sacrifice to Aetherios in the color of white or in the color of black to increase my piety in either one of them. And I'd be able to now, I could potentially gain piety in all 5 colors, but then we can introduce the idea of allied and enemy colors. Hold on real quick. What's up? AJ Pickett, hey man, what's up? Great names for the gods. Yeah, Theros is really cool. It's a really in-depth mana system, card deck. There's a couple different card sets for Magic the Gathering, and there's a lot of gods. I'm not an expert on any of them, but I'm really good with color theory. So I like to look at the game mechanics from the color perspective. And so you could, like, if you have a team that's, if they're using an alignment system, if the majority of our team is like, say, white in alignment, and we have some, maybe some blue, black, and red members on the team, and maybe we have like an odd duck that's like a red-green devoted type alignment character, then we could be building a lot of themes around white that tangents into, say, red and green to appease the other character in the party. So like a white-red and white-green alignment system for setting up different types of adventuring hooks and adventure themes in the Theros set that would put us naturally in the House of Heliod. And then like Eros and Karametra would be The red-green devoted character would probably be a big Karametra fan, because red-green would be Xenagos. So Xenagos might be like the major god that the red-green character respects, but Xenagos has devotion to Porphyros and Ilia. So if we're looking at red-green, we would see Heliod, Eros, Karametra, Porphyros, Nilia, and Xenagos for that specific team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gods that we would have to worry about for like our team of 4. And those would be the only gods that we really need to worry about caring about. Like, these gods are going to give us missions, or whenever we're performing tasks or doing devotions, we're going to be looking at what are those gods doing for us. And our enemies in that set would naturally fall into the blue-black space of Thassa, Erebos, because these are the colors that our team isn't directly using. They become easy enemies in your campaign, and they become natural enemies to the gods that you're devoting yourself to. And then you can have like little conspiracy stuff like hanging out, like Mogus of red and black could be something that the red-green character has a backstory tie into because of how their character is built. Mogus could become a red-black evil god that becomes a great. Well, Mogus is just a great villain anyway, because he's like feral minotaurs and beastmen and berserkers. That's the kind of stuff that Mogus is into. So that would be like a really good evil like main villain. Like all of your machinations in your campaign is about the gods fighting the plans of Mogus, and your particular team has been tapped in. Your white, blue, and then red-green representatives that would tap in and fight Mogus, for instance. Like, we're looking at framing a campaign using color as the guide for defining characters' alignments, as well as defining the themes of the campaign and what gods would be sponsoring your characters in that campaign, and what natural enemies would arise from the selection of alignment colors your team chooses to represent their team. And there's thousands of different ways you can combine these things together, but the color coding is all there to help create guidelines, like a codified system of defining how you're laying down different plot points and alignments based on those colors. What's up? Always a fan of anything that encourages players to take a keen interest in the gods and their politics in the game. Yeah, Ravnica's like that too, because Ravnica has the 10 guilds, and each guild in Ravnica is devoted to 2 colors. And some of these colors are naturally enemies to each other, and others are naturally allies with each other. So like white is allied with blue and green, and enemies with red and black. So when you have like a white-blue team, you're naturally going to be seeing conflict with red, because both white and blue are enemies of red in the color wheel. So there's a lot of fun ways that you can use the color system as an alignment replacement. Instead of good, evil, law, chaos, the color system is a lot more gray area. Like you can have a black-white character as their major color alignment, and they could have a very positive perspective of white and a negative perspective of a positive perspective of white and a negative perspective of black, where community, law, and order is a higher value to pursue, while selfishness, ambition, and greed is something that undermines that community spirit. On the other hand, you could have another character that's also devoted to white and black, but holds black as a high ideal and views white as a negative ideal. And that character would look at individuality, your ambitions as something that benefits you and your allies, and self-reliance as strength. Meanwhile, looking at white as a weakness of laws are constraining, being expected to do what you're told is mindless sheep activity. And both these guys could be complete friends with each other, kind of like that Terry Pratchett, Good versus Evil, where the devil and the angel are best friends, but they're on other sides of the team because their team's philosophies are just fundamentally different. But they've been around and they've seen each other win and lose so often. They're like, this white-black conflict it really just kind of grays out over time. We just kind of have to pick our battles and be smart about it. You can have that same sort of dynamic, and the gods are kind of like that too, in that they're fighting to see how they can get ahead in their own ideals while still maintaining their friendships or pushing down their enemies. The only issue I have with Ravnica is that it seems a no-brainer to make a city go all the way down. So Ravnica being a dungeon world. Yeah, Good Omens. Thank you. That's what it was called. Thank you. Yes. But those systems, but the narrative mechanic of those systems is what we're most interested in, and like I like to, whether it's a city or not. Like I was playing with Spelljammer ideas, where we take the 10 guilds of Ravnica and we put them in space, where they're colonizing different moons and asteroid systems, and like Gruul, which is red-green, hates all of it. So they don't use ships at all. They're on Kandori and Scabbards as natural creatures that exist in space. And all they want to do is sabotage freight lines and disrupt mining operations and prevent people from getting into space and colonizing, because they would view that as corrupting the celestial bodies. Meanwhile, like White-Black would be exploiting everything that they can to maximize their profitability without having to worry about ethics along the way. So they would have, they would create creatures that could go inhabit these inhospitable worlds to extract the resources from it and send it back home. And when the planet's empty, they just detonate it and kill everybody that's on board. So like different philosophies that play against each other. And that sort of a setup, people could see why Gruul would want to fight against Orzhov's White-Black perspective, because the way that we're depicting it is Orzhov is being very evil in this instance. And while Gruul could be seen as genocidal killers because they'll go in and they'll detonate a moon to disrupt a trade route, that's horrible. But to them, those are the extremes that you need to go to. So there's really fun ways to see the positive, negative, and the gray area about how different color combinations can work together to build conflicts inside of your campaign. And it's all color guided. So when you're seeing, it's easy coding, right? If I see the guy that's throwing up white and black magic marks, like he's putting up like sigils of white that blare black energy when I come close to them, causing necrotic damage, it's like, looks like we're dealing with like an Orzhov guardsman. So now we're gonna have to figure out a way to get past his wards so we can further the adventure, add plot hook here, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of really cool color. It staggers me that Wizards isn't interested in diving into this space. They really want to keep their IPs separated for some reason. So it's up to third-party designers like us to delve into these spaces, pardon the pun, and explore these ideas, because we know that Wizards isn't going to go off in this direction or dive this far down the couture design path, right? This is like Terry McGlair type stuff in game design, as opposed to Target shoe rack stuff is what WotC does, which isn't hate. They're the foundation. They're the 800-pound gorilla that has to do very neutral, white bread, lukewarm ideas that will work for everybody, even if it doesn't inspire anyone. But that gives designers like us to be able to hinge off of, to go off like in a radical direction, to be able to build in these ideas. Like, I can see what you may have been able to do there and why you wouldn't have done it. So I'm going to dive off the deep end and take this as far as we can go as a design ideal that players and DMs can maybe get jazzed about and introduce different ideas or use it to spin off and create their own unique campaign ideas. So that's the idea. So sticking with the piety system here, we instead of having 15 different types of sacrifices and acts that you would perform to gain favor with, like, say, Afara specifically, instead we can simplify it and just have rites and rituals of color. So we could have white rituals, black rituals, blue rituals, green rituals, red rituals. And if you are an Theros, like if Theros is your guy, or Athreos, sorry, if Athreos is your guy, then when you're going to an Athreos temple, you have the option of making your sacrifices in the name of white or black. ideals, to advance that cause. And so your piety doesn't advance with a god, your piety advances with a color. And as you gain more and more piety in a specific color, more and more of your mana pool that you're using to cast spells would naturally align with that divine devotion. So more and more of your spells are going to get fed to you. Like if you get the 21 points of devotion in Heliod, in white mana, then when you're preparing spells, if they aren't normally white, you would be able to prepare 1, 2, 3. You'd have 4 spells at 21 devotion, 4 spells that aren't normally white. You would automatically be able to prepare for white, even if you didn't research it or take extra time to prepare it to be the color that you want. So the piety system is cheating to allow you to have more spells in your prepared spell list to be a single color. So like if you have to divide up your mana pool between, say, white and red, and if I want to cast Guards and Wards, a white spell, and I also want to cast Fireball, a red spell, I need to make sure I have both white and red mana in my mana pool. But if I dive deep, like if I get 15 points into white mana piety, I can now prepare that Fireball as a white spell. So it looks like it's a Radiant Blast of magic instead of a red Fire Blast of magic. And now I only have to have one color, white, so I can cast both Guards and Wards and Fireball with the 7 mana that I have left. It can all be white mana. I don't have to break up my mana pool, which isn't really useful if you're not using color mana, because you can just cast any spell that you want, spend the points, and say that you casted any color that you want. I'm going to be a Golgari. I'm going to be a Golgari Wild Brush Druid, so I'll get Fireball on my bonus spell list. And when I cast that bonus spell as a Golgari character, I'm going to cast it with green magic. And even though I'm catching fire to this field, it has like a green vibe to it, the way that I describe it. That's just narrative. If I go with devoted magic, that Fireball spell is going to be red no matter what. So I'm going to have to either research it in downtime to change it from being red to green for me, or when I prepare that spell as a druid, I'm going to prepare it as a red spell, but I don't have red mana, so I'm going to prepare it again as a green spell. So now I have less spells prepared, but they're all going to be green or black, the colors that I like to use. And with this piety system, you can ignore all that. It's like, it's piety, you now have 4 spells up to 4th level because you have 21 piety with green mana. Any 4 spells that's on your druid list, they can just automatically be green, whether they would naturally be or not. So that's a way for you to use your devotion to the gods to simplify your color mana list, so that you're operating kind of like on universal spell points, like the DMG 2014 describes, as you can cast any spell that you want of any school of magic, just spend the points and there you go. But with this added complexity of color, it creates restrictions that the 5e game engine doesn't normally have, which is really good to compensate for how flexible using mana is. One of the biggest complaints about mana pools or spell points is how flexible they are. But if you have to choose, I've got 7 points of mana and I want to use red, white, and black magic. How many are going to be red? How many are going to be white? And how many are going to be red? These are restrictions that you're placing on yourself to make spell casting more difficult, which is a good way to reduce that gap between marshals and casters that everyone complains about. Well, by placing these logistic restrictions on spell casting, it naturally brings them down more to the level of marshals, because marshals don't have that problem. They can just do whatever they want. But spellcasters can have these restrictions on them, so that you have to think, just like you used to have to do in Beckme. You had to think, what fucking spells do I want? Well, you're gonna get a ton of spells, but now it's like, how much red mana do I need right now? Like, how many fireballs am I really going to throw during until I take a short rest? Because when I take a short rest, even if I don't get mana back, I can change all the colors in my pool to something different. That's the benefit of a caster on a long rest resource that want to take short rests, because you might have this fat battery of mana, but you might not have it aligned optimally to what you need. So you're gonna want, I need a fucking short rest,
because I'm out of green and white mana. I can't cast any healing spells for you guys until we take a fucking short rest, and I can get some of this green mana, or get some of this like red mana dropped back into either white or green. So I need that rest just as much as the fighter does right now. Like that's a really neat way to bring the mechanics down so that all the characters are having similar problems. You have the resources, they're just not available to you. You can't tap into them the way that you want to because your colors are off alignment. So those are some of the ideas anyway. Hey, what's up? Yeah, damn straight, dude. Well, not anymore. They have shifted entirely to just franchising out IPs. Hold on. I think you've been talking about a lot of stuff that I'm not caught up on because I've been ranting. That's what I do, right? Well, not anymore. They have now shifted entirely into just franchising out the IP to third-party publishers. Hence, my Perkins and Crawford joined Darrington Press. Yeah, absolutely. So opportunity there. Yeah, absolutely, man. Excellent and elegant design. Thank you. And very inspiration and cool evocation dynamic system. Right on. Cool, man. This was yeah. It was, but this is a really big ask for Wizards to go. That'd be a big deviation away from where D&D was, and it'd be putting a lot of chips in how many people are actually interested in both D&D and MTG. Obviously, I'm a fanatic, and there's at least a few thousand of us out there because the books that I already have about this on the DMsGuild, they're selling pretty well. So me upgrading all this stuff to the 5e24 game rules makes a lot of sense. And anyone that's interested in looking at them, here's the full bundle. I do all my own artwork. This is all my own design. Basically everything that are in these books is me except for the editing. So, and the Elemental Key book, it's primarily interested in red, green, and blue mana for the elemental colors. But if you wanted to use an airbender system of air, earth, fire, and water, you could use the 4 elements instead of the color system. But all these books are free preview, and they all go into the mechanics of how the mana system works, how the colors work, all that stuff. So, and they're all free preview, so you can read all of my books cover to cover. If you think they're cool, you buy them. If you don't, then you had a chance to read them to decide this isn't for me. Well, then you're probably not going to fucking use it, so I shouldn't have charged you any money for it. If it's useful, you buy it. So what I want to do is check my timer to see how we're doing. How long have I been playing for? 40. I'll say. So I've still got about 15 minutes before my lunch break is over. But we'll be back on Monday night, probably for a 2 or 3 hour session to deep dive this stuff. But this is our frame. So with just like with the Strixhaven College credit system and with the Ravnica Guild Renown system, we have the 5 tiers. We've got at 3 points, because it's 3 points of renown or Strixhaven credits or Theros Piety. Every 3 points gives you basically a step. And so it's 3, 9, it's 3, 17, math. 3 at first level, 15 at 5th level, 27 at 9th level, 39 at 13th level, and then 51 at 17th level. Those are the 5 ranks that coincide with the half casting, which coincides with proficiency bonus gains. These are our benefit breakpoints. So whenever we hit those marks, these are the benefits that we get. And like in the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, these are the converted backgrounds for 2024. And one of the things is, one of the benefits that you get from, say, the Rakdos Guild is that you start with 3 points of 3 points of renown, so that you're automatically first rank. So with the Gods of Theros, the backgrounds aren't changed. The piety system is completely independent of your characters' backgrounds. It's just like, I want to play a Mogus character, so I'm going to go with red and black. Okay, you're going to start with no points in red or black at all, and now whenever you're performing adventures or making sacrifices, you're going to want to think of I'm dedicating this session to red. So when you're performing the session as a character, you're going to want to think, how do I express red through my character, and what can I do during this adventure that's going to express that? So when you do your DM wrap up, you can say, here's what I did to gain my red piety, and if you're doing on an adventure by adventure basis, like a session by session basis, after 51 sessions of devoting everything that you do to red, I could get myself up to 51 points of red and have 9 spells up to 9th level that can all be devoted to red, whether, there you go. So that's the idea. So I'm bending my mana pool to do less work because the gods are providing these spells in the colors that I've devoted my heroics towards to advance their goals. And so if I'm going with Mogus, the gods of black and the gods of red are going to be more and more interested in what I do as a character. And the gods that oppose white and black and red, like the gods of white in particular, but occasionally green and red, but mostly I can expect hate from the white tribe. They're going to come on, they're going to hate on me. I could see betrayal stuff, like I would be cautious if Athreos, or cautious if what would be red and like red and white is Eros. So like if Eros approached me or Athreos approached me, we share a common color of white, black, and red. But I also know that Heliod has a hand in what they decide to do. So when Athreos approaches me, is Athreos actually working for Heliod right now, or is Athreos working for Erebos right now? And Athreos in particular might lie about that. So I have to, as a character, when the gods approach me, I have to be asking myself, what are they trying to achieve that they're trying to get me to take these actions? What's that to them? What am I missing? Who am I going to burn and hurt? So those are the ideas. Right on. AJ, man, it's good having you around, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for the words of encouragement. You are a gentleman, a scholar, and a fucking stud. So I appreciate you. So what I want to do is all of where we're at right now. What's our next step, right? So now that I've thoroughly explained how the system is supposed to work, what are we actually going to do with it? So we can see here, like worshiping Ephora. Ephora has specific things that you can sacrifice to her and devote to her as a sacrifice to gain piety, and she has particular actions that she would appreciate you taking, how you gain her favors, and what you can do to support her, earning and losing piety with Theros specifically. But then these are the boons that you get for hitting different piety points, and the DMG uses 3 points, 10 points, 25 points, and 50 plus points because I don't think they understand. I don't think Wizards of the Coast really. I mean, I do mean I'm punching up when I say this. I really don't think that they looked at how elegant a design system the 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, 5-step approach from zero to hero goes. They could have built a lot more stuff and redefined the tiers of play around that 5-scale step from 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, and just lean into that to have your characters naturally gaining proficiency bonuses and even like subclass levels at these different breaking points of different tiers of power. They made it all broken, and I don't know. Maybe they tested out this 5-step system and it was just too efficient, and they didn't like how efficient it was. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I've never heard any design conversations about why the cacophonous broken approach system as opposed to having a 5-step system. But since none of this stuff is actually supported in 2024 anyway, I can redefine it the way that I want to redefine it. And in my mind, 5 steps is gold. So that's the way I want to approach it. So what we'll be able to do next is break down like what's all the common factors that we see between gods that are devoted to white versus gods that are devoted to black versus etc, 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 and then build an alternate set of rights and boons that will grant characters as they hit these different breaking points in that 5-step ladder towards becoming god, before becoming God's champions. So that's going to take a little bit of work, and my intention is to do all that work with you guys here online, to break down, to start looking at these things, finding the commonalities, finding where things seem to be contradictions, trying to resolve those contradictions, and find a way to curve this 4-point step into a 5-step. There's probably a pattern because we're almost always able to find a pattern that we can build out. So far, every time we've done this, we've consistently found a scaling pattern system that we can utilize. So So I am anticipating finding the same for the piety here, but it's going to be a little bit of work. So that's where we're going to start, and I'm damn near out of time. I'm at 54 minutes on my hour lunch. So I'm probably going to be wrapping up here, but hopefully this has been inspiring to folks. And if you want to see more of this and you want to come along for the ride, you're obviously welcome to join my Discord. There's no cost there. You're always welcome to throw notes at me and say, hey, what's up in chat while we do that. Hit me on my social media channels if you want. And all of this stuff, when I rebuild the core mechanics for the color mana system that we have on DMsGuild, we're going to be including piety. We're going to have a character creation, like how they've restructured the 5e24 book. We're going to restructure the mana books. So it's like character class, and then race, and then backgrounds, and then we'll have subsystems like piety, credits, and renown, and have those basically provide all the narrative and then alignment. Have all that stuff feed through the color wheel, so that now that you know how your character's mechanics work and you get more and more down into the philosophies and role-playing aspects of your character, you'll have more tools that support and complement the decisions that you make with your classes, subclasses, your species, your background, your alignments, and your renown, credits, piety, devotions as you move further down the stack. So it's a little bit more involved than what 2014 was, but we also have a lot of changes that are going to make the system a lot smoother to use. So there's a lot, but if you're into this, I mean, all of it's a Chinese buffet. You take what you want, you leave the rest. And it's all designed to work together. So if you use all of it, it really transforms the flavor and energy of your campaigns. But even if you just want to use one piece of it, then that can still be something that inspires you to take your campaign in a direction that you hadn't considered before, maybe. So that's the ideas. So yeah, if not us, then who? Absolutely. Yeah, it's really fun, and you know, I just keep doing what I do, and so. When we build out a book like this, I do design work on Mondays, Thursdays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, and we do the game design stuff. And once we get a book to the point where we should think about locking this thing down, then I'll get an editor on board. I'll pass off the document to the editor. They'll chew on it. When they send it back to us, we'll do the page layouts, and then we'll do all the artwork here online. I do artwork for my books Monday through Friday in the morning, and once all the artwork is done, we seal it in PDF. We put it wherever the PDF goes, and then we grab the next book, and we just keep building and just rotating through the stuff. And almost everything that I build can be used with other things that I build. So it's like this omnibus of variant mechanical options that change how you view the perspective of your campaign, specifically through the 5e game engine. This is such a great game engine. There's so much that can be done with it, and I think people, I think it's a lot more work thinking these things through than what most people want to do. They want quick, easy solutions. I just want to play. You know, they don't have to think about that. That's why people are willing to spend money on books, especially if they've been really well thought out, explain stuff to you, and are exciting to think about. So you want to build books with a lot of energy that provide a lot of options, possibilities, changes, ways to express characters in different ways, so that people want to get into that stuff and play with the ideas, be able to have a new means of playing a game that instead of having to leave 5e to go play a different game because 5e isn't clicking your box anymore, maybe you just need to look at it from a different perspective, or have a couple different tools put in place so that the game engine that you already know how to run can perform differently. Like, you know how to drive, but it's going to be a lot different using a Jeep on off-road hill climbing than it is to punch down the Automon at 200 miles per hour. It's the same car. It's the same type of driving. It's still just driving, but you're approaching it from a very different angle, or a very different set of skills, or a different way of expressing the idea of driving that car. And that's what we're trying to do with the 5e game engine. Show you how many different ways you can take this fantastic game engine and have it build and run different types of campaigns than what Wizards of the Coast, what very baseline ideas are put out by Wizards, because Wizards can't really do super exotic stuff because they'll go bankrupt, just like TSR did. If you go too far, too down, any direction, and get too exotic, they're just going to fragment their audience, and they're already trying to figure out how to make this a more profitable option. They can't go diving down rabbit holes and creating Mystara versus Dark Sun versus Planescape versus Spelljammer. They can't. So they have to create very simple ideas that don't bend the rules very much, that doesn't rock the boat. And like you said, AJ, it's a great time to be a designer because there's really cool game engines out here that are really good at customizing and just souping up, just souping up that game engine to make it do what you want. So I'm kind of geeking out and just waxing poetically. I'm technically out of time. That was my go home alarm. So I gotta bail, go back to work. This is my lunch break. I'll be back doing this stuff Monday night for like a 2 or 3 hour session. We're gonna start diving through and breaking down the devotion of all 15 gods and start parsing out what are the common scaling, like what's the power scale that we see, what kind of spells is each god getting access to that there might be commonalities to, and how can we blend those ideas together to have like a common black theme, a common white theme, a common blah blah blah. So when you see a Mogus worshiper, they're operating in red, you've got an idea of what kind of stuff that Mogus champion is going to be able to do with their devotion to red magic, as opposed to if like it was a Mogus black center, like they're going to feel very different. And then a Mogus character would be able to advance both of them more slowly because they've got 102 points worth of piety to go through to become Mogus's champion, as opposed to just Epheros. So you only need 51 points in black to be able to hit crowning achievement. That's why the greater gods are great, because it doesn't take a lot for you to have a primal champion with them. These other minor gods, it takes a lot more effort for these minor gods to have that same level of power with their devoted, which is represented by the 2 colors. That's diluting. You're either working one color all the way up, or if you're working both colors, it's like multi-classing. If you're working 2 colors, you're not going to advance either one of them too quickly. But depending on what you need, like a half-caster that can only get up to 5th level spells anyway, like a Mogus paladin that's devoted to white and red mana that can only get access to 5th level spells, that paladin doesn't need to get more than 27 points of devotion to get access to 5th level spells on their paladin list to get converted over to black or red as they please. They don't need to necessarily worry about 9th level spells if they don't want to. That's not important. If they're going to just be up to 5th level spells, then they can afford to stack those 2 color alignments together at the same rate as a single devoted Heliod white cleric would, to get those 9th level spells converted to white magic so you can supply your mana pool. Anyway, I've probably carried on enough. Let me just catch up on the final notes here real quick. The Scar was oh, no kidding. I knew that existed, but I never looked at the 5e Stargate. And right on. I appreciate you, AJ. I'll see everybody in the future. Monday night we're gonna do more of this, and Monday morning we're gonna do more artwork. Have a great weekend. See you guys then. Cheers.